New day. Okay. So we are starting our unit 5, which is about writing equations of lines. And then we're also going to get into parallel and perpendicular at the end. Or towards the end of the unit. So we're kind of going to take this in 2 steps, these first 2 lessons, little baby steps. We're going to talk about point slope form. We have mentioned point slope form and what it looks like, but today's main focus is how to actually use it. Go ahead. Okay, so we have a lesson today. I don't think it's going to take super duper long, but it is going to bring back some stuff that we've been working on, finding slope, like points, graphing lines, all that stuff. There's a lot in this these linear units that it's going to be a lot of overlap, and so it's good because that's so important for STAR test. Also, starting this unit, so with the Google updates, Delta Math doesn't let us log in right now, so our practice is going to be another packet on paper. And so I'm going to have another packet for you that I'll pass out when it's time, but you're going to have to keep up with your notes and that practice, like keep them together and in your folder with you every day. And the packet, again, it's got all the problems in it, but it'll just go like section at a time, okay? So if you're ever absent, you should have everything already unless you missed the first day. But that's what we're doing. That's the plan. And then some of you guys, if you still have retest protocol to work on, if we finish early, we can try to get some of that done after you finish your homework. So go ahead and put a big X through this calendar because it's already wrong. Love it when that happens. Follow the Canvas calendar always. Also, again, y'all kept saying that this happened last unit at the top. Everyone, it keeps saying Unit 3, and it's supposed to say Unit 5. We changed the teak, but I don't know why we can't change 3 to a 5. Oh, it's hard. Okay? All right, so we are doing 5.1 today. So it's really I think it's just 2 pages. Yeah, it's just 2 pages. So I feel like we'll zip through it, and then we will pick back up next time. So we have talked about, today's focus is point slope form. I want you to look on your formula chart, and I want you to find where you see point slope form. We've talked about this form. We've converted this form, but today we're going to understand what this form means and how we actually use it. Okay, do y'all see it right there? Point slope form. And that's the one, how we convert, we distribute, we move the number over. We're going to get back to that next class. But today it's just we got to understand that form and what it means. So point slope form is written like this: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And the first time I showed this to you, I kind of made some notes that your y1 and x1, those are going to be numbers. Okay? Those will be like when you see the point slope form plugged in, you're actually going to see like y minus 5 or x plus 7 in the parentheses. So those will be numbers, but those numbers come from a specific point, okay? An ordered pair, an x value and a y value. That point's going to be given to you in the problem. So you got to put them in the right place. And then what do we know m always is? Slope. M is our slope, so that will also be a number, okay? So they drew some arrows. M is your slope. They said that x1 and y1 is a known point. Threw back in the slope formula because we're going to use that eventually. If we don't actually know the slope from the problem, we're going to calculate it. We'll get there, but we've done this. Y'all are good at calculating slope. Okay, so slope is our letter M. Fill this in. Slope is M. That's the same M it's been all year. Won't change. Okay, slope is our M. So you can look at a point slope form and you can see your slope in there. Okay, it's not in slope intercept form, but that is something we can see. But then the other thing is the points that we use. So remember, your points are coordinates. They're ordered pairs. Ordered pairs. Running out of ink. That are on a line, on a graph. And those are usually going to be given to you, and they're going to look like this. X1, Y1. So remember, ordered pairs go in the order like the alphabet. Okay, the x value will be first, the y value will be second. And then you're going to use that to plug that into your formula. Make sure you write this. I want you to write x1 and y1 on there because you know that that's what you're plugging in. And then the plain y and the plain x, those are going to stay in there. Okay, so this is just a formula. we plug in exactly where everything goes, just like we did with slope. We just figure out what our numbers are. We're going to label them like we did with slope, and then we're going to plug them in. Okay, so we kind of started out. We gave you a little bit of a template to fill in, and then we'll take that away as we go. So let's look at number 1 together. Here's how these are going to be worded for starters. One way they can be. Write the equation of a line in what form? Point slope form. I want you to always box that because as we progress through this unit, sometimes I just want you to get to point slope and stop. Today, that's all we're doing. Point slope and done. But next class, we're going to get into slope intercept form. So you got to pay attention to what I'm asking for. So today we're all in point slope, but go ahead and make a habit of boxing that. So we want to write an equation in point slope form that has a slope of 4, passes through the point -3, 5. So let's label. Slope is what letter? 4. Slope is 4, but what letter in our equation? M. I'm just going to put a label on it so I know where it goes. That's our M. 4 is our M. And it goes through the point -3, +5. That's our x1, y1. So what am I going to put first? X1. And then 5 is the y1. I want you to put those labels. So that way when I get my formula chart, or I look up here, I can just plug in where everything goes. Okay, so again, I kind of gave you some framework here, but let's follow it. Y always stays as Y, regular Y. But the Y1, I'm going to grab my Y1 number. In this problem, what is my Y1 number? 5. So it says Y minus, I'm going to plug a 5 right there. Equals, what do I plug in next?
4.
My M, which is 4. And then I open up parentheses, that's the plane X. That stays as plane X minus, what's my X1? Negative, we're all getting a 2. -3. -3. So that's how I plug it in. I literally am just, did y'all see how I had my finger over here on this formula and I was following the formula. Y1 equals mx minus x1. Now there's one thing here that I do want to be careful about. Do y'all see it?
No.
Look right here. Is this cleaned up? X minus -3.
No.
Do we like to have minus negatives?
No.
What happens when you minus a negative? It turns into a, so here's what I'm going to do right here. Just make that a big plus. And I am done. This is my answer. This is my point slope form. And that's where we're going to stop today. Today. Okay. So I do want you to make sure if you write minus negative, we need to know to clean that up and make that a plus. All right? Let's try, y'all try too. Think about what form you're writing in. It's kind of already set up for you, and you just got to plug in what you know. Please label, just like you guys have labeled in slope. I want you to please label here.
I got a question.
Yes.
For the number 2 and the y, would that be also a plus?
Is it a minus negative?
It's yeah.
Very good. Very good. So label your slope as M, label your point. Make sure you clean up minus negatives. Minus negatives, we want to clean up. Do we have a minus negative here? Right here. So here's another way that I sometimes can kind of think about this, because you're going to see that minus negative situation happen sometimes. Yes?
For the second one,
Uh-huh.
it'd be x minus plus 6, right?
You don't have to put minus plus 6. You can just put minus 6, because you don't have to label a number positive, but you do have to label a number negative. Okay? Here's another way that sometimes, like, I think about it here. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. What kind of 6 is in our point? A positive. But when I put it into the equation, what symbol do I have in front of it? A negative. What kind of 2 is in my point? But when I put it into the formula, it becomes a positive because the minus negative thing. So sometimes people just start to recognize that, hey, when I put the value of the point into the equation, I do a little sign flip. If that makes sense to you and you understand why that's happening, then by all means, you can do that. It worked here too. What kind of 3 was our point? And then in the formula, I had to change it to a plus 3. With the 5, it was a positive. In the formula, y minus 5. Okay? Did our slope ever change signs though? Our slope's never going to change. And that's just because when you have formulas and they say minus, that means opposite. Okay? Flip the sign there. All right, number 3 and 4, these are good problems. These are going to be kind of like what you're going to see. Let's star them. You're going to see some questions like this on your check for understandings, which is in a few class, your test, that type of stuff. We didn't put the little starting point, so we got to know. Write the equation in. What form are we writing in? Point slope. Okay, and then really think about that name. If you are going to write in point slope form, what are the 2 things that you have to know?
The point and the slope.
The point and the slope. Did you hear what we just said? I feel like I say this 100 times. If you know a point and a slope, then you need to go to point slope. Okay? And this is usually going to be where we start. So write an equation in point slope form that has a slope of -2. Slope is our what letter? M. Passes through the point -1, -3. What's our x1?
-1.
And what's our y1?
-3.
Please put the labels on there. Okay? This time I have to do the whole thing all by myself. Oh, excuse me. Okay, thank you. All right, so I have to start my point slope form from scratch. Regular y always stays regular y. All right? Minus what kind of 3? Or what kind of y value? So then I'm going to make this a positive 3 equals my slope, parentheses,
X
Oh.
That would make sense.
minus,
-1.
which minus the negative becomes a plus. Okay? And I'm done. All right, try 4. Yes. Put your labels. We're going in point slope form. That's important to pay attention because we don't want to do more work if we don't have to. So how do I do my point slope form? How do I start? Y minus 7 equals -2/5.
And then parentheses
Uh-huh.
x minus 4.
Very good. -4. That is our slope, point slope form. Because what did we know? We knew a what and a what? A point and a slope. A point and a slope the whole time. That's what we knew. And so this is where we're going. This is where we're going to stop today. Okay? Again, you're just following a formula. You got to be careful with the signs. We're just following a formula. All right, Brandon, why'd you say number 5 so hard? What did I give you on number 5?
You gave us a good one.
I gave you 2 points, but what form do we want to write in?
Point slope.
Point slope. So you have 2 points. You only need 1. But do we have a slope given to us right now?
No.
No. So we are going to have to, this is where it's talking about, it may be given, those are nice, or you may have to calculate it. But good thing that we put this slope formula, which is also on your, where is it? Star chart. And good thing that we are slope all-stars here in Miss McCartney's class. And we can do this. So let's review 5 together, then you guys are going to try 6 on your own. X1, Y1 is our 0.23. What about 5, 6?
X2, Y2.
X2, Y2. So let's follow our slope formula. Get my chart. Got my labels. All right, Y2. What number is Y2? 6 minus, what number is Y1?
3.
3 over X2
5 minus 2.
minus 2. And then where can I put that? To simplify it all the way down. Calculator. Alpha Y equals. Alpha Y equals. Make sure we write before we type, especially on number 6. I see a lot of negatives over there, and those sometimes make things complicated. 5 minus 2. Did y'all get 1 for the slope?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now we found our slope. Little more work. That is our, what letter? M. Okay, so we have 2 options here on which point we want to use. Because when we write a point slope form, we only need 1 point and 1 slope. But how many points do we have? 2. So we're going to write actually 2 answers. Okay, on your homework, I'll tell you what point to use. Let's first use the point 2, 3. Our x1, y1 here. So this is using the point 2, 3. We're going to write it 2 ways just for practice. Here's your setup. Y minus, what's the y value of the point I'm using? 3 equals, what's the m that we calculated? 1. X minus, what's the x value of the point? 2. And that is an acceptable answer. But we're going to do it one more time for fun.
Wouldn't you do plus?
Wouldn't I do plus? Where?
Y minus 3 plus.
I don't need to make that a plus because it's minus a positive 3. I only make it a plus if the point I'm plugging in is a negative. All right, use this one. 5, 6. Write it in using another point. Give me another point slope form. Go, go, go. You shouldn't need a calculator for this one. Not yet. Okay, if we use the point 5, 6, what's our formula? Y what?
Y minus 6.
Minus 6 equals times
Minus 5.
x minus 5. Okay, there's your other point slope form that you could write. So it just depends. I'm pretty sure on your homework I'll say use this point to write it. But again, sometimes if you have multiple points, you have multiple options. And if it's like that on the test, I would accept as long as it's correct. Okay? All right, try number 6 on your own. Think about where you need to start.
Are we doing both equations?
Sure. You can do both equations on this one. And then we'll just do one from here on out. You can do both. So give me 2. This or this. But think about where you need to start. Are you given the slope or do you have to calculate? We have to calculate, but we're good at that. Been there, done that. Of negatives floating around here. Follow the formula. Negative 12 minus what kind of 5?
Negative 5.
So you have to type minus negative.
If you're minus 4, it'd be plus 4, right?
And did we figure out what we did wrong? Those of us that did not get 7 over 4? Did you get 4 over 7?
Yeah.
You're upside down. You're upside down. Label these. Remember, it's y minus y. X minus x. I'll look at it. Just a second. Okay, hey, Brayden, you said you're done, right? Give me one of your point slope forms. What's one of them?
What do you mean, like?
Oh, it's minus?
Were you done with the slope or are you done with the whole problem?
Oh, yeah, okay.
But college.
Plus 5.
Okay, tell me. I have to have a variable.
Y. Minus, plus 5 is a negative. Plus
Very good. Minus a negative became a plus. We need to fix that. Equals.
Equals 7 over 4. And then parenthesis x. It was another negative, so I put a negative.
I forget.
Plus 4.
Very good. Okay. Again, you've got to make sure if you write minus negatives, you've got to make those pluses. Some of you guys, like I said, you're going to recognize you're putting the opposite sign there, so you can go ahead and put the pluses. But do not leave minus negatives. Do not leave that. Okay, that was one. Anybody do the other point?
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, you got it.
Y minus 12, but you change that to plus 12.
It's minus negative 12, so you change it to a plus. Mm-hmm.
equals 7 over 4, and then parentheses x minus 8, but you change it to plus 8.
Minus -8. That's why it changes to a plus 8. Okay? So you're getting the right I just want you to make sure that you're saying it correctly. Okay? Minus -12 minus -8. That's why it becomes there. Okay? All right. So that is kind of like as far as we will take it today. There are some more questions on the back, so flip over. This is where we're going to need your rulers because we kind of started to bring back these graphs here so we could practice from there. So 1, 2, and 3. You've got a table. You got a table on number 1, and then 2 and 3, they just give you 2 points, and you just do what we've been doing. You are going to have to calculate your slope, but I wanted to throw in a table and practice that, so we'll do 1 together. And then you guys are going to try 2 and 3, and then you can get your practice packet. Your practice packet, look up here. Look up here. It's also the same color as your notes, so you keep all these papers together, okay? Just consider this like a small brain break right here. It labels what section? 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, 5.1, 5.2. Are we on 5.2 yet? No. So you will stop after 5.1 when you get your packet, okay? But let's talk about number 1, make a graph, and then we'll go from there, okay? All right, how do we find slope from a table?
x1, y1, x2, y2.
All right, what do you want to pick as your x1?
-2,
-2, what's your y1?
-15,
Y1, what do you want to use as your x2?
-4, -9.
Does it matter what you picked as your x1, y1, x2, y2? No, you got options. All of these guys are negative. If I had more points, I probably would have tried to avoid negatives there. But let's calculate the slope real quick, okay? Even if you did different points, you should still get the same slope. Unless your teachers have made a mistake, which we have done before, and made a slope that wasn't consistent. But I think we're pretty good here. All right, so our slope, plug it in. Formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
1.
Really? -9 minus -15.
Positive,
-3?
-3.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's what I got too.
I got 72.
Really? Okay, real quick. Since we have a graph here, now when you do your graphs today, you're simply going to be plotting your points because we're not going to get slope-intercept form. So we're going to be plotting points and connecting them. So let's do that real quick before we go to point-slope form. So let's look at these points on the graph. Can I fit -2, -15 on my graph? No, I'm not going to fit because I'm going -10 to +10 on the x and y. But that's okay. Can I fit -4, -9? Okay, let's make sure we know how to plot points because this is something that some of us are still getting backwards from time to time. When you're plotting a point in ordered pair, which again, you could put these as ordered pairs. You can grab them from a table. Either way, you are moving. You are starting at 0, 0. You are moving on the x. If I want to go negative on the x, I'm going to the left. How many? 4. I am hovering. I am not done with my point. I have to put the matching y value, which the y value is negative. So now I'm going to move down. How many? 9. I can see my labels right here. I'm going to put a point there. We have to be able to put points on a graph, take points off a graph, okay? And then I'm going to plot my next point, which is -5, -6. So again, on the x, I'm going left 5. Careful, that is a -6, and I keep seeing that as a -5. So -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go where? Down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Point there.
Oh, that's 6.
Yeah, I thought that was like 5.
I know. I did the same thing.
Scared me.
Count it because the graph is counting by ones. Watch that copy just kind of looks weird. And then get your rulers and connect your lines.
The graph is kind of like
It's not. This is a -2. Well, there's grid marks in between. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. -5 is right here. And then you go down 6 on the y. Okay? Does it make sense that this slope is negative? Does this make sense that this slope is negative?
Yes.
Which way is the line going? Left to right? Down. It's going down. Left to right, it's going down. Okay? Now, remember, you can also calculate your slope. If you would have put your points first, you can calculate your slope from your picture. Do y'all remember how to do that? Some of y'all got this. This was one of the most missed ones on the test was the writing. So let me remind you how to do that. If you have, I have 2 points, don't I? It's change in y over change in x, okay? So my change in y was I went down 1, 2, 3, and then I went over 1. So my slope is -3 was my change in y because I went down. My change in x was +1, but -3 over 1 is just -3. So slope formula is going to work 100% of the time. But if you have a graph, sometimes you can do it a little bit faster if you have those points on the graph. Okay? All right, what point do you want to use for our point slope form?
-15.
What point? The whole point. -4, -9? So I just ask you to, could you use any other point in that table? Yes. So just write which one you're using, and you only have to write it one time. So this is the last one we're going to do together. Point slope form. Y +9. Why is it +9?
Because
Minus a negative. Equals, what's our M? -3, which we calculated 2 ways. Parentheses. X +4. Ooh, running out of room. Here's my point slope form, and you only have to write it one way. Okay? All right, so 2 and 3, I want you guys to do this on your own. Again, you need to practice plotting those points and getting a graph. Do you need to calculate slope on the next 2 problems? What?
Yes.
Yes, you don't know the slope. I was mean. I didn't give you the slope. When you finish those, check them with me. Pick up your practice packet. You have 5 problems to get done. That's all I have for you today. So if you need retest stuff, we got time. When you get to the practice packet. On number 1, you have a point and a slope already. So getting here should be quick. How do you graph that, though? How do you graph it? Where do you start? What's the only point you have? If you have the homework packet, we're on number 1. Look up here. Most of y'all have it.
1 -5.
1 -5. So I'm going to plot that point. 1 down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, Brayden, what am I going to do to get the rest of it? Because I don't have another point.
You're gonna put a 1 under the 7, and you're gonna go up 7.
I have a slope, so I'm just going to use my slope to go from there. So if you don't have 2 points, you're just using your slope. Up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over 1. Up 7 over 1. And then you can graph it that way. And then some of these, if you look at number 3, it gives you 2 points that you need to use to calculate your slope, but then it gives you a point to use in your equation, so use that one. Okay.
Which one do we plot?
Which one do you plot? With this one, you plot those both. You have 2, you can make your line.
Am I supposed to stop at 4?
You are supposed to stop at 5. Oh yeah, it also starts recounting. So go until the next problem number 1. Okay? I do want you guys, when you finish, to check. You need to come show me that you have done them and let me keep track that you have done the work, and then you can check it for accuracy. It's kind of a pain. It's more of a pain for me, but I want you to at least be getting that feedback and me keeping track of who's doing their work.